Hello everyone, I'm back again, and unfortunately it's come to my attention that SDR on PS5 may be essentially broken. And you're probably asking, well, what does he mean by that? Well, it's better to just show you what I mean, but the image is usually washed out, there's an over brightening of whites, and no, it's not my settings before any of you start chiming in about that. There's nothing wrong with my settings, and I will prove that later. But first, I'm going to show you what this looks like in SDR. First, look at the menu, how weirdly murky it looks on the PS5 with SDR engaged instead of HDR auto on. Let's start up the game. And look at that weird kind of haze. That's not supposed to happen. That's supposed to be black. I don't know what's causing that, but it only happens on the PS5. It's almost like a terrible switching gamma or something. Okay, so the first detail to take note of is how white that looks. You were like, well, it's clouds. Yeah, but it's not supposed to look like that. Anyway, let's continue. So look how washed out this image looks. Just it's like this haze is over top. I don't know if the camera's going to do it justice, but I'm going to try my best here. So we're going to boot up the game. Okay, so I'm going to point some stuff out to you. Alright. Let's start with this area right here. It's very dull looking, very gray. It's not supposed to look like that. It's supposed to have a warmer hue to it. And it's supposed to have just a different look altogether. So let's go through. Look at the bikes. They're kind of looking a little washed out. We're going to go up here. And back down again. Okay, now. We'll turn HDR on so you can see a difference. But here's the thing. You shouldn't have to turn on HDR in a game that never supported it in the first place. Now, in theory, this is supposed to improve things. But does it really? I don't think it does, but I'll let you guys be the judge. Now, Auto HDR is on with HGIG tone mapping. So first, note how much more contrasty the image is there. It looks sharper, but what's the cost of that? And look, the nice screen here is nice and black, ignore my lamps, and it doesn't have that weird sort of haze that the SDR had. This is almost how it's supposed to look. It's very close. But why do I need HDR to see that? Okay, now here's the problem with HDR. Now it's got too warm a hue and way too much contrast. Look at the clouds, how kind of almost yellow they look. Now, much more detail in the picture and image here, but again, that's contrast. That's not the exactly how it's supposed to look. And look at the warm tones of hue that this game is showing. Maybe a little bit too much. The little platform they were standing on there was like almost like a yellowish when it's supposed to be gray. Alright, so once again we're going to go through the hangar. And again, it's got this yellow hue to it now, much more contrasty, a little bit more sharper. There's a little bit more detail coming out in the image now than what we had before, which is nice. But again, is this supposed to look this way? And I don't know if it is. it looks a little bit too much hue now. A little bit too much contrast, a little bit too much sharpness. You don't technically need all this. And again, it's got this very, very warm hue to it now, which wasn't there before. And you're saying, well, that looks better. Well, you think that, do you? But give me a minute to throw it into the PS4 Pro so you can see what I'm talking about. And it'll boot slower, and I might have to boot an earlier save, but here we go. 1 second, I'll be right back. Oh, and before any of you say it's my settings, I can prove that it's not in 5 seconds. Observe. Okay, so look at that. Look at all the detail in that first load screen. The background is black. There isn't HDR on to prove it to you. As you can see, no HDR, and the HDR logo did not come up. A nice black background, the way it's supposed to look. One second, let me get rid of that. Okay, now look at this. A nice white cloud background, not too much yellow hue, and a nice logo. And there's no detail lost in the characters here. We're going to go back to where I was so you can see the difference for yourselves. But you should be able to see most of it already. Okay, observe. No details lost in this area here. This looks the way it's supposed to. It looks nice and gray. A little bit of a warm hue to it, but not overpowering warm hue like before. Now we're going to go upstairs. This is the way the game is meant to look. Not overly contrasty, not overly bright and whites or washed out weird grays or washed out image. PlayStation, you need to fix this. This is unacceptable. I was happy at first that you had PS4 games work on PS5, but if they're not going to work the way that they're supposed to, if they're not going to look the way they're supposed to, then that's no good. Anyways, I hope that all of my subscribers spread the word about this because, you know, it's something that I never would have noticed unless, of course, I had another TV. And ironically, when I fired up my Q9FN the other day with my PS4 Pro hooked up to it, I noticed it immediately, the difference. And I was like, what is with this picture? Why does it look so much better? An QLED should not look better than an OLED. So then I went back to my OLED, fired up the PS5, then I fired up the PS4 Pro, and voila, I found my answer. So Sony tries to explain this. 1 second, guys. One of my alarms is going off. I'll be right back.
Hey?
Sorry about that. That was getting annoying, though. Okay, so back to it. Sony tries to say that by using dynamic tone mapping, they can make it run and look that much better. But as you've clearly seen from my comparisons, this is not the case. And even worse, if you shut off HDR, you completely wash out the image in question. It doesn't look anywhere near what it should. So yeah, you might get some performance boosts, but if the image doesn't look the way it's intended, then I don't know if that's actually worth it for the average consumer. Anyways guys, if you like this video, give it a like. If you didn't, and you think that my TV settings are whack, and I just don't know what I'm talking about, give it a dislike. Subscribe if you haven't already, I'd appreciate it. Ding that bell if you want to see what I come out with next. And stay healthy, stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye for now!